Hey everyone, court's back in session with the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We're now starting episode 4, The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro.
I begin to think, Wilson, that Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to the story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea, leading him to the distant memory that snowy eve. To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Yet in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious. I felt like we were staying in a palace. With all the gaslights twinkling, it was bright in the day, even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Borea, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, that dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that's enough money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. You must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, our entire stipend will be used up in 10 days or less. Ugh. London is a scary place. Is that, Chief Justice? Strongheart. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. You have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes. It was very eye-opening. Thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. Another case? Already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. What more were you hoping for? The culpability of the defendant has not at the present time been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Well, Lord Fanzix, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fellow, I couldn't have asked for a better defense. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilder really was innocent. Mr. Naruhodo! It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Magnus McGilded passed away, immediately following the trial. No. What? Mr. McGilded is dead? I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Oh yeah, let's talk then. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course, that was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No. How could such a thing have happened? It is being investigated as we speak, but already. The police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful. The man must have slipped inside whilst the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. How could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now, immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. It's time for the inspection. Sorry, what inspection? You're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I said I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus. Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who is Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any of concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Poor Mr. McGilded. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow. Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in some indeed of Great Britain's long history. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. It was fortunate. The very first trial was a simple affair. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favorable verdict. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talent, wouldn't you agree? Well, I don't know about that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much at least is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I've prepared a new case for review that I mentioned before. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Oh, I see. That is to say, no one has died, as yet. And the trial will not be today. There's plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. Is everything alright? Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh. If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. There's now about 23 hours, 26 minutes, and 39 seconds until the court sits. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There's something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I'll be interested to hear what exactly you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world works so he can change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself. And there's another thing. Oh. Another thing. Continue. On the way here on this steamship, he said something to me. It's something very important I have to do. Something very important. And what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for an enlightening discussion.
So Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Sogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me.
I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. So, I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell.
How long was he standing there? Did he just materialize like the rest of the sprites? There's something very important that I have to do. Kazuma-sama, what do you mean?
I wish I knew, but honestly he never told me. Anyway, we had better talk to the detective, don't you think?
Yes, you're right.
Could we trouble you? I know you're in the middle of eating your fish and chips right now. What do you think? Ugh. Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Ugh. Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. So trippy about the weather doesn't get every English gent in and out of your hand, you know? That's not how you portrayed me. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to hear the likes of you talking to. I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there would be saying, hmm? Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. All because of some bumpkin who's here on a drone from a country I never even heard of. You're not ripping sound, that's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. Don't choke, sir.
I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer.
Eh?
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant.
Eh?
It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it?
It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine.
Let's pass that diplomacy check.
So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. My name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you. I'm from Scotland Yard.
Gregson? Inspector Gregson? Inspector, are you perhaps the Inspector Gregson?
You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Sato. He's a London detective.
Oh, I do know him. Very well, in fact.
Very well?
Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, and that publication. What's it called again? Grant's magazine?
That's right. Inspector Gregson and Mrs. Holmes enjoy a wonderful, friendly rivalry.
Really? You rival the great Mrs. Holmes? That's incredible. Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mrs. Holmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time.
Mrs. Holmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of the bad luck of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words.
That's his highest praise?
Well, Mr. Holmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see.
That he is not. And thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than a man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumors about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumors?
Are you quite sure?
He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. His fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that.
Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you?
Like I said, they whisper, so I can't catch exactly what they're saying. But I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying. As sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work.
Oh dear. Perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people.
Anyway. So, about the case that the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before? Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler.
Oh dear, that probably means... As far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated.
I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in hospital, unconscious.
That's despicable. What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind?
I suppose he would have finished whoever was offered a suicidal takedown, would you?
That's neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo.
Anyway, at the summit of a well-run investigation, the criminal was arrested. Maybe I had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So, there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit?
Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question?
Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why or not? Simple. The prosecutor has been assigned to the trial tomorrow. It's Lord Baroque Van Zeeks. No. Sounds like you've heard of him then.
Oh yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death himself.
Lord Baroque Van Zeeks.
Mr. McGill told us about him before the trial, didn't he? And Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution. They call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned.
The Sweeper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it?
Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector. At yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty.
And what of it?
Oh, well, I think... That means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant.
No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Huh. Vanish Gilda came a copper in that omnibus when they went up in flames. Flames on the side of my face. So you can't rightly say that you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if N6 could get the direct to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles. He works magic. Black magic. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Right, well, I filled it in as requested, and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. I'm still carrying out a few investigations there.
It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place?
And that's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself.
You branded him a criminal already?
He's as good as. Speaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. They gave you a chuckle, nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jail and you'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you.
Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? To tell the truth, when I recalled the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too.
But if the man they've arrested is innocent, you can well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in its cell. And I for one wouldn't find the sight of that funny.
So...
If I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, wherever he is. But I'd like to try. So I think I'm gonna make some inquiries. We hope?
Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant.
Thank you. So then, shall we?
Yes. Let's go!
We'll go to Briar Road first.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak.
That is their job, you know.
Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close. To real Bobby's helmet.
What? The helmet?
Of course. I'd love to try one on one day.
Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. I don't see Inspector Gregson anywhere. Should I see if we can sneak past and investigate the scene of the stabbing?
Why should we sneak?
I don't want to upset one of the Bobbies and be butted on the head by one of those metal helmets. My skull would crack in two, I'm sure.
Oh no, an English Bobby would never do such a thing. It's the land of gentlemen, you know.
If you say so. Look at this snowman.
What a delightful snowman.
I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It was a little creepy though.
Oh, he has a scarf, look.
You need one if you're out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one.
I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. But the person who made the snowman certainly would.
Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway. Even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much over my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. I'm just gonna skim through all these investigation stuff. Susato now. That's what they all say, Susato. Look on this side. Yeah, it's kind of bulging out here, isn't it? They mentioned something about the Great Exhibition last time, right? It's probably gonna be important later. Hey Nosuke, you're just a little guy. I'm gonna trample you.
Anything else to look at?
Let's see. I'd be very thorough. No, I'm not sure, actually. Is it the barrier? Boy, what are you foreigners doing here?
Ah!
Oh, we're, just investigating the scene off. Conspiring with that mustache fell from Japan, are you? Conspiring? Can we destroy evidence, have you? Get out of here before I give you an item. Go on.
You shoot us away like rats.
Yes, we should give him wide berth, I think.
What a disappointing experience.
Is that it? What do I need to do? What am I holding? Just a badge? Building can... I could move on and come back later, but I don't really like doing that. It's not something in the corner again, is there? So the suspect is not a Japanese man, they said. So these are British prison cells.
Oh, they're ghastly. It feels like just like a dungeon.
Yes, I haven't experienced it in Japan myself. I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls.
Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo, you're making it seem worse.
Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop on in the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Calling me by a number. It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer.
Mr. Naruhodo, what? What do you think is going on here?
I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese, supposedly. It's hard to tell. Excuse me, shh. Quiet. That's a nice stash you got there, sir. They're all around, fighting. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. Right. So, could I ask you, who is that? There you are. You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it. You're a ghost. Ghost?
You mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you Japanese by any chance?
This is beyond my wildest dreams. Stop ruining the mood, you stupid controller. Forgive me for that outburst before. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine. We're just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it. It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment! What compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon! A first-class lawyer?
I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example?
Yes, I can. I will. Shut! Stay sullen and silent! Yeah, he's gonna be fun.
I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy.
Yes, he does. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba.
I am a visiting student sent here by our government. Notably, notoriously named Natsume! Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Only Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see. A writer. Of haiku. Is something of a nom de plume. Nom de plume? You mean an alias?
That's right, Naruhodo-san.
No, don't be so prosaic. It's much more refined than that. And haiku. That really reminds me of home.
Did I hear you said you were a visiting student sent over here by the government?
Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go and study English. Of course I had to suffer that misery. And now this. It's beyond the pale. Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something doesn't mean you can do it? No.
What do you mean?
If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on white washi.
You must be a man of great standing.
Oh yes, so I'm often told. So what's going on, my man?
Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san?
I didn't do it. I didn't commit that atrocious murder.
Murder?
Oh, no, it's alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes. Before your eyes? You saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here?
Oh dear. It seems this case is becoming rather complicated.
Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse. The curse of London is incredibly, excusably, irritatingly inconvenient.
It's vital that we find out more about the case.
It was an accursed evening, just before the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books, and I was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. As I was walking along the accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet.
Oh, terrible.
I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran, as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. That's not good. You'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that.
Tell me, Soseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours?
Don't be ridiculous. You think I know any of these fair-haired English? And a young woman at that. I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. I see. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anybody pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one?
So the victim was unknown to you, and there was nobody else on the street at the time. That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it?
Hmm? You know what conundrum, Ryunosuke? What do you mean, Susato-san? What's the conundrum?
Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim, and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen.
I did! You... What did you just say? Nothing! I didn't say anything! Ryunosuke.
Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested?
Sorry?
He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. How did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place?
Oh yes. It was him. That accursed great detective. He led the police to me! Of all the bad luck. Accursed great detective. And I shall never forget that man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-head, busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Hairlock Sholmes! I knew it.
Mr. Sholmes?
It was the morning after that nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was sawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst into the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police, put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination, devils! You really had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Herlock Sholmes? It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London.
Yes, the great detective is really very well known.
And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts apparently. He thinks I'm the knife-wielding bad man. Me? This weak stupid kitten of a man?
Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable.
Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in.
Of course you were. That's only natural.
I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. In this foreign flabbery? Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, "Yes, I do, and I'm fine." The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here.
Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising.
I'm fine. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. You can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple mister is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes, they've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Oh, Why? Why? Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself, on a study tour. A student? I have defended the case in the Old Bailey. Only the one, though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means.
Oh, Naruhodo-san.
I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband, that's the mark of a defense lawyer from a great empire. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. The keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me.
Oh, what do you mean?
The lawyers, all the British defense lawyers, they won't defend me.
Goodness, why do you say that?
For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks as though I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Sasaki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them. Someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. He even had the gall to say the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. If wrong, I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there in the streets. I've traveled halfway across the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, wouldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. Sasaki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean?
We shall investigate this case as thoroughly as possible. If you can find some clues, it'll give us a much better chance, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire.
We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for.
Well, sit tight, I guess. Not much else he can do. There he is. What's the Japanese delegation doing here?
Oh, Inspector Gregson.
This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm very sure you're well aware.
Yes, of course. We're here to investigate.
So we've been to the holding cells then. What do you make of the criminal?
He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect.
We'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens. And the verdict's a foregone conclusion.
Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone cold air.
That makes it worse somehow.
Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place.
The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am.
Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing real Bobby's helmet.
It does make him look the part. Seeing that policeman there with his helmet on, you certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city.
Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful?
Being in London, Bobby, is outgoing, I can tell you.
Oh really?
First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes around and rouses all the laborers on this beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Nope. Raps on the windows with a long pole. Did myself going back a bit.
I had no idea.
The warrior works for the people of the town. This is another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. Can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way.
Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama.
On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. If it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps.
Oh my.
And I suppose in between all those duties, Bobbers are expected to investigate cases as well.
And chase after criminals trying to evade the law.
I'm not sure you can call it in between exactly. More alongside. But yes. You expected the end of those jobs as well. You do have a man killing over from time to time, I admit.
I was dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. You'd have met around 5 in the evening 2 days ago. Just there on that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. There's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's your policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on.
Thank you, Inspector. I gratefully accept.
Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countryman. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but...
But just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present.
I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure.
How?
Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? You have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. It's like you're updating the autopsy report on me. Who are these witnesses, Inspector? The fellow and his wife. And the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a culprit from Scotland Yard. A policeman?
And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked?
Nothing peculiar about that, man. Part and parcel of being a Bobby. Catching him banging the act and all that.
Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions?
Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh. I no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
The policeman witnessed the incident. As your digital assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed.
Yes, as a non-traditional assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect. I hear that was Mr. Sherlock Holmes. What are you breaking him up for? Gregson? Where'd you hear that name from? Oh, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Holmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings.
I'm sure there was other one of Mr. Holmes' inspirational great deductions.
Fiddle faddle. The man's an amateur. Now I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime. Wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case.
Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he?
Gibble gabble. Ever seen this before? Oh, yes, that's Rent's magazine.
A wonderful publication in which the adventures of Sherlock Holmes appears.
Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in his stories. And a so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone that the Yard is a misadventure to be included in any Sherlock Holmes tale at all.
Well, I suppose there's an element of that.
We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be flunked by the public thanks to an obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us as Scotland Yard as he is to our criminals.
That can't really be true, can it, Inspector?
That twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now.
Yes, we did hear something to that effect.
And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals. The violent ones.
Master criminals? The violent ones?
That's right. He unpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But
isn't that Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely?
This is my point, Sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. For some reason he's taken an interest.
Really? What sort of reason, Inspector?
I think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness. You have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial.
Mr. Naruto, can I make a suggestion?
Oh, yes, what is it?
Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this.
By him, do you mean Mr. Holmes?
Yes, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, exactly.
Well, Mr. Natsumi did blame Mr. Holmes for all of this, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet Mr. Holmes again.
The trouble is, you have no idea of the man's address even. So how?
It's Baker Street.
How do you know that?
It's in the stories, of course. U21B Baker Street, the most famous address in the world.
Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. Let's go dox Mr. Holmes.
I'll summon a carriage.
Let's go.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the... Good day. Thanks again.
This is it. The residence of Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
So this is where the great detective makes his living. Is this described in the stories, Mrs. Sato? Sasato-san?
Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room.
Oh, I suppose he must have been, yes.
The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it! The romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruto?
Oh, I suppose I can, yes.
So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please don't mind me.
Excuse me, is anybody home?
Hello! Is it a big new case for Mr. Holmes?
Hello. It's this girl. Wait. Aren't you...
How rude of me. I'll go make some tea at once.
Mrs. Sato, do you see the girl who was just here?
Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Holmes to take on this case.
The King of Bavaria?
King Wilhelm Gotstrick, Sigismund von Ormstein, of course.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Holmes for a moment and look over there.
He's rude. I have a freshly baked cake as well. It's you!
Yeah, give him a gun back, I invented that.
I never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Or you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London.
Oh, yes, it was challenging.
Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. You have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck.
Did Mr. Holmes tell you about us by any chance?
Oh, you know Hurley, do you?
Mr. Holmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see.
Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley is on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas.
Did she deduce all those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Holmes' suite?
Oh, silly me. I haven't introduced myself, have I? It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley.
Iris, is it? What a lovely name.
What?
What's the matter?
No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson? Yes, that's right. And what are your names?
I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan.
Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Bruno. Got it.
Susie? And Bruno?
Yes, and so do I.
Tell you what you know, little girl. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey.
Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming.
Though at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us.
Like this?
Thinking back now, you left with Mr. Strahd in tow, didn't you?
Oh, Ginny? Yes, he's a professional pickpocket.
So we found out.
It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that.
Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption?
Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about being a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician.
Sorry, your technician?
Really, of course, silly.
Really?
Yes, Sherlock. Sherlock Holmes. We live here together.
I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter.
Daughter? Not likely.
What?
I wouldn't come early if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Holmes? Well, I think you found out that lunches of any kind in London are very expensive. The solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate.
Your roommates? Yes, Ryunosuke, they were roommates.
I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year.
Well, what of your mother and father?
Oh, no. They're not around.
Oh, I see.
Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Rand's magazine! Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting! My stories are being read on the other side of the world!
My stories?
That's right. He's always solving such amazing cases, you see. And he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It'd be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing out the manuscript for the next issue before you came.
So you are the author?
Yes. I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm gonna call this latest adventure the Speckled Band.
A speckled band?
Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble.
Oh, that's what Mr. Holmes first thought as well, actually.
Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... it's a story. The poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say... are the stories about Mr. Holmes that are published in Grant's magazine all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine.
No, at 10 years old.
At 10 years old.
Well, that's quite incredible.
But... Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Yes. I did alter the setting slightly, for the story to be more compelling.
Oh.
That sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow.
Suppose it does, yes. About before.
Yes, yes? What's on your mind, Bruno? Do tell me.
How did you know? That I was a lawyer and just arrived in London, I mean.
Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How'd you know all that? Well, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although there's really no mystery. Now let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the Defendant's Antechamber.
But you also said that we only just arrived in London. How'd you know that?
I saw the passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket.
Oh.
I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted the case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs.
The Reaper of the Bailey. I walked right into that one, didn't I?
I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet the suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. I used those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Agnes McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case.
I see.
But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, I only solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling.
Japanese man?
Mr. Natsume. Naruto has that fancy Japanese sword. I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Oh, anyway, it's clear to me that you both come from Japan yourselves. I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. We both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. He's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know? He is silly. And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct?
They were spot on.
That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction.
You even managed to certain something of Mr. Holmes' delivery.
Oh, well, I'll just copy Ning Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please?
So yesterday, Mr. Holmes apprehended the Japanese man, you were saying?
Yes. I just arrived back in London after a sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene.
Ah.
Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There are witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking stooped man running away from the scene. Short, shifty-looking stooped man. Mr. Natsume beyond any doubt. Oh, yes, it's great detective powers to determine the man's address. There's a lodging room very nearby. We went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking stooped man, shivering in fear.
Mrs. Holmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time.
Of course it did. He's a great detective.
Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow's too soon for the trial, isn't it?
Definitely. We had no time to investigate properly. It really says that London is rife with crime.
Oh.
Captain Yara is doing his best, but he can't stay on top of it apparently. Oh dear, I didn't realize the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system.
I suppose it is. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative.
Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Holmes is at the moment? As you guess, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well.
Oh, well. Inspector Curley is still investigating the scene.
Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean?
Yes, Mr. Natsume? Curley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there?
Yes, we know Inspector Gregson.
Goody. In that case. You'd better say this for me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know.
What is this?
A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems.
Still don't remember how much a shilling is.
It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem."
Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try.
Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Spell of Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. You'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Holmes Naruto, it's back to the scene of the crime.
Though somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. He headed back to the scene with Iris' curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. So, it looks like we still have investigating to do. We're gonna get it close to the end of this stream, so we're gonna have to pick that up next time. And I'll see you then.